Hello and welcome to Art with Mrs. G. In today's video I will be showing you how to draw 3D shapes and then create an imaginary picture out of them. You will need your drawing pencil, a rubber and a ruler. So let's get started. First we're going to draw a cube or cuboid, and for this you can either draw the shape freehand using a ruler or find yourself something square or rectangular and use it to draw around. So I'm using my mug mat and I'm going to draw around that with my pencil. I lift and then I put it at the same angle, not twisted or anything. I put it at the same angle, overlapping, and I draw another one. When you've done that, you should find that you have two overlapping squares. Now I join from the back left corner to the front left corner. And the same here, the back right to the front right. And then the bottom right to the bottom right there. And then these last two corners joined together on the diagonal. You can do these in all different directions. So if you wanted to try drawing another one, I recommend trying to make as many different shapes and sizes as you can and pointing them in all different directions. So maybe I take this one forward and I put it down here. And I'm overlapping it again. I'm joining the corners. That's not long enough now, so I'm going to use a ruler. I go from corner to corner, from the bottom corners there, and this corner to there. And now you can see that I've made a very long rectangular kind of shape. Okay, so much more of a cuboid, whereas that one was much more of a cube. At the moment they look quite transparent, so to make them look like solid shapes you need to decide which way the light is shining on them. And so I'm going to put an arrow showing the direction of my light, so the light is coming from here. And so I want this front face of my cube to be nice and bright, and then I'm going to have more shadow on the side and a little bit shady on top there. So now I've decided the direction of my light. I can think, right, I don't need these lines here anymore. This is why you should be really drawing quite gently. You can disappear these lines a little bit with the rubber. So now I'm going to leave the front of that pale, and then I'm going to put the side of my shape into the darkness, into the shadow. So I shade with the side of my pencil in an overhand grip. So it's looking a little bit more solid already because I've shaded that side. I'm going to put a little bit of shading along the top edge as well. Bit of finger blending there. Okay, so this shape is looking altogether more solid now. The next thing you can do is you don't always need to colour inside the shape. So to make this white face, this bright face, really show up, I can shade outside of it. So I turn my page, I can line my pencil and my blocking device, my ruler up, and I can shade gently outside this shape, just a little bit, because this is the front of the shape, just to make that front edge appear really bright. Okay. So you can, now it looks like it's sitting on the ground a little bit, doesn't it? And I can turn it again and I can shade around the edge of this shape here just to make that show up as well on that side. And fade the pencil shading out gradually around the edge into the background. And so there you have a much more solid cube. Next, let's draw a cylinder. So we're going to put the oval face of the shape on. Now draw it gently until you get a nice oval. They're really hard to draw freehand actually. I mean, that's not the best one, but that will do for now. So nice and gently get your oval on, and then you're going to draw parallel straight lines coming up from the base of your cylinder. And then I need to put, if possible, exactly the same kind of oval on the top. So this top line here should be a curving parallel line. So we often talk about having parallel lines when we're drawing in 3D. I'm sketching that on gently. It looks about right. So in your mind, you're visualizing another oval face on the other end of the shape. So I'm sketching it in lightly here so you can see it. That feels about right. It's not bad. So we've got two oval faces and then the one curved surface around the middle of the cylinder. So once again, we identify where the light is coming from at this point, which is coming from the front onto my shape here. So the front of my cylinder is going to be really bright. I have to decide now what I can and can't see. I wouldn't be able to see the other side of my cylinder, so I am going to rub out that rear curving line there. Okay, and then we start doing our shading just inside the line. Turn my page, always easiest than turning myself, and then shade inside the other. All right, so it's starting to look a little bit more solid now, and then the light is shining there, so we're going to have probably a bright edge to begin with and then getting darker towards the back of the shape there on top. Okay, I mean, it looks oval from this angle. I should point out that if it's a proper cylinder, when you actually look down on it, it's going to be circular, isn't it? Okay, so here we have our cylinder. Now look at it and think, where do I need to darken this? I want those corners to show up a little bit more, so I'm going to strengthen those. Okay, and down in this corner as well. And a little tip really to make it look more like a curving surface is to add some parallel curving lines across it. Can you see these? Okay, just a few little flicks coming in here and there. And they're curving, they are not straight, otherwise you will flatten off your cylinder. Okay, and then to make it look like it's actually solid and sitting on the ground, once again we can put some shading, just a little bit around this front edge to make that bright edge really show up. Just make it look like it's just on the ground a little bit there. At the moment the light is coming from right in front of this shape, so I really don't need to draw a shadow or anything. If it was going at a slight angle, I could be pointing a shadow behind it, but at the moment it's hitting it bang on from the front. A sphere next, so find something circular to draw around. A sphere, of course, only has one curved surface, and it has no vertices or corners or other edges on it. So how on earth do we make this look 3D? So once again, we need to decide where the light is coming from. Okay, so I'm going to do this one at a slight angle just to show you. So let's have the light coming from this direction. Okay, so it's coming in at an angle on mine. So the shadow is going to be going parallel back behind it in this particular drawing. So the brightness is hitting it about here. You've got to think this is my bright spot on my sphere, okay? So we can leave this bit as white as possible, and it's going to be pretty bright on this side of the sphere. I'm only going to do a little bit of shading there, but the back side of the sphere here is going to be much darker. So that's where we start shading in. And I should be turning my page, in fact, and pointing my pencil to that line, trying to match the pencil shading to the line that I drew. So I'm basically disappearing the outline to turn this into a solid shape. The best thing, of course, you can do is actually shine a light on a ball or some kind of spherical object and actually see where the reflections and the light and everything are, if you can. Okay, so I've got my shading in on the back there, but once again I need to make this front edge stand out, and how am I going to do that? By shading outside the line. Turn my page, I point my pencil at the edge and I shade outside the shape. Right, there we go. So my sphere is now, it's looking like it's got the light shining on it a lot more there. Just put a little bit more shading around that bright spot. Okay, and then if you actually want to make it look like it's sitting on the table and has a shadow, think about where is the light falling, okay? It's going in the direction that I've drawn it on. So basically creating a shadow is the object blocking the light out. So I'm thinking that it's going in that direction. So I have got some shadow on the ground behind my shape. Okay, and there we have our sphere. We're doing a cone next, and of course on the bottom of cone is usually one circular face, but we will make sure that we draw it a little bit oval, because if it was sitting down on the table, that's the shape it would be. So we're trying to draw our oval again. So keep sketching it on until you're happy with the shape you've got. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to leave that. And then find the center of the shape, draw a straight line up. How tall do you want your cone? I'm going to go right up to there, mark the spot, and take that down with the ruler, giving it straight edges. Now, of course, this has got a curving surface, hasn't it? So we want to make sure that we do some shading to make it look curved again, like the cylinder. Leaving a bright patch on the front, because once again, I'm imagining that the light is coming from that direction in the front at the moment. So just darken up underneath where it's sitting on the table there. And I don't really need to draw shadow on this one because the light's coming straight from the front again. So that's the easiest direction to draw it, really. A pyramid next, which will have a triangle on its bottom. And then imagine how tall you want your pyramid to be. So I'm going right up to there. I mark the tip or the apex of the pyramid, and then I draw in my lines with a ruler down to the corner there, to the front, and to the side. So I have got my triangular faces showing. We imagine where the light is coming from. So the light is going to come from that side on this one, and then you use your shading skills to put this face into the darkness. There it is. One side in the darkness, and just to make the other side show up as we usually do, we can just shade gently outside of the shape. And this one has got quite a strong light source coming in here, so we might want to put some shadow behind. I'm thinking, right, this is blocking out here, and we want to be going off to a point in the distance. There we go. So the shadow's stretching off into the dark behind there. Okay. And there we have our pyramid. Next, a triangular prism. And this one, you're going to need a point in the distance of which things disappear, the disappearing point. So mark it into the distance there with a dot and decide how long do you want your prism to be. I've done the triangle on the front of my triangular prism, and now I'm going to use this point to make the side lines. So let me see, let's measure that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 centimetres on that side. So I'm going to also do 5 centimetres on that side. And then you should be doing a parallel line to the front edge. Slide your ruler back, make sure it stays parallel, and put the back of your shape on. There. It's very important that this line and this line are parallel. Once again, we could pretend that the light is coming from the front there. So we put a little bit of shading under this shape, and then we will shade down the back to make it look solid. As I go towards the back end of the shape, it should be getting darker and darker. And there will be a little bit of shade trailing off behind it if the light is coming from here. Now you can use your new 3D shape drawing skills to create your own image. I've decided to do a rocket ship blasting through space. I've drawn a 3D cylinder with a cone on it and a couple of triangular prisms and some cuboid windows. I've coloured it in oil pastels, and then I can put a watercolour wash over the background. And if you get some paint on top of your pastels by mistake, you can just wipe it off. And then you should be left with a lovely colourful shape picture. I hope you enjoyed drawing your 3D shapes with me today. It is tricky, so keep trying until you get it just right. And then I hope you manage to do a lovely imaginary picture as well. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Goodbye.